I'm Tim Hartman, standing by at Park Slope where volunteers are preparing Thanksgiving meals for the homeless. That's coming up.
The arsenal police discovered after an alert citizen saw something and said something. A potential mass shooting spree was averted.
Yeah, those guys are in a bad area. They need to get out quick.
New video out tonight of a dramatic chopper rescue of people and dogs surrounded by walls of fire in California. Plus, a horrible massacre against Catholics in Africa. The death toll is rising. It's the latest incident of religious persecution. The news starts right now.
It beats being by yourself anytime.
A Brooklyn kitchen with Catholic roots is gearing up to make Thanksgiving a good day for those who might have been forgotten. Hi, I'm Michelle Powers. Liz Faublas is off. There is an oasis of help in Park Slope founded by Catholic parishioners and inspired by the Bible's Good Samaritan. Tonight, they are hard at work to help people tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. Currents News' Tim Hartman is there right now. Tim.
Michelle, dozens of turkeys and 100 pounds of potatoes are just part of the feast to feed those who have fallen on hard times. When they usually don't have a place to go for the holidays, they'll be able to get community help in Park Slope, better known as CHIPS. Alan Negron is homeless. His wife and now adult children left him, and the 58-year-old sleeps at a shelter. But he'll have a place to spend Thanksgiving dinner. CHIPS in Park Slope, Brooklyn.
You ever been out there and went hungry? Believe me, you'll know that something like this it's the godsend.
Catholics from nearby St. Francis Xavier Church founded the center in the early 1970s. CHIPS serves 350 meals to nearly 150 people every day. Today, volunteers are hard at work, dicing and slicing for Thanksgiving. At least 40 turkeys and 100 pounds of potatoes have been donated to go along with all the trimmings. Every guest will receive a meal and a to-go tray with leftovers.
They say food fills the soul. You know, it's healthy for the mind, it's healthy for the body. And, you know, around this time of the year, everybody should have somebody, somewhere, someplace to be.
Father Tom Barton is a Franciscan and volunteers. He says CHIPS creates a family atmosphere when most guests don't have families of their own.
They really are respected and they really respect each other. And that's the active faith dynamic.
Alan has been coming to CHIPS for almost a decade. A former construction worker and Postal Service employee, he looks forward to his favorites: turkey, stuffing, and someone to be with.
It's nice. You sit down, you conversate, you socialize, have a nice meal. It's not bad at all.
He's grateful, and even through his tough time, Alan hasn't lost his faith in God.
I asked to help me out with the situation I'm in, and then I leave it all into his hands. Whatever he decides to do, he decides to do.
And CHIPS will have extended hours feeding those who need the help from 11:30 a.m. until 2 o'clock. In Park Slope, Brooklyn, Tim Hartman, Currents News. Michelle, back to you.
Tim, if people want to volunteer tomorrow, can they stop by?
Well, Brother Tom says that they appreciate the help, but CHIPS has enough hands for tomorrow because most of the time they have so many volunteers that there are some people who just have to stand around in the kitchen. However, food is always welcomed here at CHIPS, located at 200 4th Avenue in Brooklyn.
Thank you, Tim. Plan on going to the famous Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. Better bundle up. Tomorrow's forecast for New York City may be the coldest ever recorded on Thanksgiving, according to the National Weather Service. Temps are expected to hover in the mid-20s with a wind chill producing real feels in the teens. And winds just might force the parade balloons to be grounded. That decision will come tomorrow morning. And the mad rush to be with family this holiday is well underway tonight. Where are most of the people heading to? Right here in the Big Apple. The Airlines Reporting Corp says that despite the forecast, New York is the most popular destination for airline travelers during the 2018 Thanksgiving season. That's just the skies. Even more people are coming to New York on the roads. And still ahead in this newscast, AAA expert Robert Sinclair joins me. He has advice on coping with the glut of cars that will be on the highways from now until Sunday. Tonight, a manhunt is underway for a killer who invaded a Catholic supply store in suburban St. Louis and murdered a woman. Her friends are mourning the loss. The church community of St. Anthony of Padua held a memorial service for the victim, Jamie Schmidt. Aisha Khan reports from the parish.
The more you ask about Jamie Schmidt, the more you get to know who she really was. Parishioners at St. Anthony of Padua say Jamie had the kindest of hearts, a heart that also loved to sing in her church choir. Tuesday night, the grief-stricken crowd held Mass and offered a prayer for the 53-year-old mother of 3. St. Louis County Police say a man with a gun barged into the Catholic supply store on Manchester Road Monday afternoon, shooting Jamie in the head. They say he also committed a sexual assault inside of the store. Jamie later died at a hospital.
Obviously, you're a troubled man that could do such an act.
People who know Jamie personally say not only was she a beautiful singer, but also a gifted artist, and that artistic talent shows in all of these murals she painted.
The outside world broke our bubble and took somebody very special.
Jamie's family released a statement, part of which says, quote, "Our family is heartbroken as we try to accept and understand this terrible tragedy. We ask for prayers for peace and that the killer is caught before he hurts anyone else."
Police have not yet determined a motive for the murderous rampage. Tonight, a potential mass shooting prevented. Police in Springfield, Kentucky discovered a huge arsenal of rifles, handguns, and ammunition after being called to a factory on a report of a suspicious man checking out the building. The plant manager saw him and made the call.
At least we're not here putting people in body bags. At least we're not visiting people in the hospital. At least we're not honoring 2 fallen police officers, which could have easily happened. If you see something, say something.
Police arrested the suspect on weapons charges and thanked the alert factory manager who called 911 and prevented a tragedy. Religious persecution is being blamed for an awful massacre of Catholics and Christians in Central Africa. Attacks on a cathedral and refugee camp were so violent, the number of people killed is still being tallied. Melissa Butts reports.
These are some of a few photos from the attack on the cathedral and the adjacent refugee camp in a Lindau, Central African Republic. The victims were mostly Christians, including the Vicar General of the diocese, Blaise Mada, and Father Celestine.
In this attack, the victim is the church. The situation in the country is very delicate, and in many cases, the religious component is mixed with other factors.
At the moment, the number of victims is unknown and could range from between 40 to 100 people.
Since the beginning of this seemingly never-ending crisis in 2012, it is only priests and religious people in those areas who remain to help the population, both Christian and Muslim.
Pope Francis has the Central African Republic in his heart. He visited in 2015 against many recommendations that he canceled the trip due to high risks. Therefore, during the Angelus prayer, he lamented this terrible attack.
Con dolore ho appreso la notizia della strage compiuta 2 giorni fa in un campo di sfollati nella Repubblica Centrafricana.
For years, this African country, one of the poorest in the world, has been subject to a bloody civil war between 2 militias, Seleka, which has an Islamic nature, and Anti-Balaka, formed by Christians and mercenaries of other ethnic groups and religions, whose main victim is the defenseless population. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
Courage in Red, the Color of Martyrs, is the name of a new campaign launched by the papal charity Aid to the Church in Need. St. Mark's Basilica in Venice and the city's canals were bathed in red light as a symbol of solidarity with persecuted Christians. Pope Francis is calling the week-long drive a pro-life initiative. In the Brooklyn Diocese, Monsignor Kieran Harrington will lead a prayer service. Solemn Vespers will be celebrated at Brooklyn's Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph on Sunday, November 25th at 4 p.m. and televised live on Net TV. There's a lot more news headed your way. The dramatic images of a risky rescue as a helicopter lands in the middle of walls of flames to save people from California's wildfires. Important tips about dealing with holiday traffic when I'm joined by an expert from the AAA. A special preview of the latest edition of The Tablet. Editor Jorge Dominguez will be here to talk about a bright Christmas. And an important programming note to share with you. Currents News will be moving to new time slots. Starting Monday, December 3rd, the news will air a half hour earlier at 7 p.m. right here on Net. Reruns will air at 10 p.m. and then the next morning at 7:30 a.m. Mark your calendars. We'll be right back. Thanksgiving will be a hard day for evacuees and firefighters in California. 3 days of rain is beginning now in the region hit by the most destructive wildfire in state history. The storm could trigger flash floods and mudslides. The rain threatens to hinder the search for human remains and wash out shelter camps, but it might also slow the fires still burning. In the midst of the raging Woolsey fire, 2 Los Angeles Fire Department pilots carried out a dramatic rescue, and it's all been caught on camera. Just released video shows thick smoke and flames, making you wonder how they even got out alive. Sandra Mitchell reports.
With smoke billowing from the charred hillsides, 2 pilots flying Fire 4 worked out how they were going to attack a line of flames.
Try to knock the head out of it. That's all I can do.
But even before David Norquist and Joel Smith could head for fuel, a call for help.
We're going to need to possibly pull these folks out. I'm not sure if it's going to be a ground landing or a hoist.
Immediately, they knew they were heading into a tough situation. The danger became more clear as they got closer to the thick plume of smoke rising from the hills above Malibu.
This is rapidly becoming very ugly.
The pilots had to make a quick assessment of Castro Peak and find a safe place to land.
Do you see anybody?
Yeah, there's a guy with his dog down here.
All right, this is not going to be pretty.
I'm going to keep the door open. I'm going to go run out.
Okay.
All right, Godspeed.
Yes, sir.
Moments later, Smith returned with 3 people and 2 dogs all heading down the trail, and one of them needed a little coaxing.
Great. There's one dog here, English Mastiff. He's a little apprehensive, but we're getting them on board. Copy that.
And with everyone safe inside, Nordquist and Smith were ready to take off.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
Good job, Joel.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah, it was.
Those pilots carried out the entire rescue in just under 3 minutes from landing to liftoff. In just a few hours, families across the country will be sitting down for Thanksgiving. And what better way to enjoy some rest and relaxation than to pick up the Brooklyn Diocese Tablet newspaper. Jorge Dominguez is the editor-in-chief, and he joins us now to talk about what's in the latest edition of the Tablet. Jorge, the Tablet is preparing for the holidays in a special way, as they have for the past half a century. Tell us about the much-loved Bright Christmas campaign.
Well, the Bright Christmas campaign, I mean, as you say, for the half a century, we have do this campaign to bring funds to help a group of parish groups who need, the money to help children have a bright Christmas. For the last 33 years, our friend Ed Wilkinson, our editor emeritus now, he was the soul of this campaign. This week in the Tablet, he wrote a column inviting people to help me this year. This is my first year, with the campaign to help the kids in our diocese.
And now, what kind of kids is it helping, Jorge? Are these kids who wouldn't have gotten a present otherwise?
Groups associated with the Diocese of Brooklyn can ask for help to help the children in their parishes. Yes, to have toys and to have a party, to have different things for Christmas.
I see, so it's just a check. And how do people give you these checks?
Well, what you have to do is you just write a check to the Bright Christmas Fund, and you send it to our address, 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215.
All right, Jorge, I hope you get all those checks so that every single kid in this diocese could wake up to a bright Christmas.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Supporting the tablet ensures that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. These are the stories that oftentimes can't be found anywhere else. Subscribe to the tablet right now and save up to 55%. Go to the website thetablet.org/home55 or call 1-877-883-8356. Now a story about a special woman in the Brooklyn Diocese. Charlene Kraft is blessed with her own calling, despite what would appear to be a difficult obstacle to overcome. Current News' Tim Harfman has her story.
Tapping her cane along the concrete, Charlene Kraft makes her way to church. Going against the busy Queens traffic, she uses God and her walking stick to guide her to Mass.
I'll say to God, God, you better send someone to cross the street, and he does.
A native of Chicago, Charlene was born legally blind and says growing up it was difficult for her to follow along during the service. Still, like a model Catholic, she had faith in what she could not see. In recent years, she's become a staple to Holy Family Church in Fresh Meadows.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
With the help of fellow parishioners showing her the way, Charlene now has a favorite spot, in the third pew on the right.
I walk all the way to the front, and then I count backwards to the pew that I want to be in. A reading from the book of Genesis.
With Braille readings in hand, Charlene now volunteers as a lector.
The people love her. They realize she makes this special effort, and it's a wonderful example, I think, to everyone, how we don't let handicaps hold us down.
I have 3 or 4 different hymn files, so I have to find the right one.
She can even follow along with the hymns thanks to her talking keyboard.
I asked the choir master if he would tell me the hymns each week, and then I had to get someone to dictate them to me, and I put them in my machine.
All are welcome for what?
All are welcome, and when I wrote this, it was hymn 411.
Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live.
Let us build a house where love can dwell.
Charlene says she wouldn't be able to fully participate in the religion she loves without the Xavier Society, a nonprofit organization helping blind and visually impaired people practice their Catholic faith. All these translations are from there. At home, her Bible consists of 40 binders. 10 years ago, she didn't have any of this.
This is the books of Esther and 1st Maccabees.
Empowered by their work, Charlene now serves on the Xavier Society's advisory board and wants to help others with disabilities connect with the church just as they helped her.
They have made it possible for me to participate fully in the Mass.
Charlene is thankful for the strides that have been made to include the visually impaired, but says there is still a long way to go. In Fresh Meadows, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Still to come on Currents News, a nationwide warning from the CDC about a food found on many Thanksgiving tables. It could be life-threatening. And the Pope sends out a special message as she gets ready to go to World Youth Day, now only weeks away. A warning tonight to Americans nationwide. Stay away from romaine lettuce. The Centers for Disease Control fears the food is contaminated with E. coli, and that could be life-threatening. There have been outbreaks across the country from New York to California. The CDC is telling people to throw out any romaine lettuce that they may have at home. Starting tonight, millions of people will be on the road this Thanksgiving holiday. The AAA predicts the number could top last year and be in the highest in more than a decade. Robert Sinclair is with AAA and he joins us now. So Robert, tell me, every year travel is predicted to be the busiest. How is that number calculated and is it accurate?
Well, DK Schifrit and IHS Global Insight actually conduct 50,000 telephone interviews to determine the number who will be traveling. Not only that, after the holiday, we do follow-up interviews to determine if those who said they were going to travel actually traveled. So sometimes you might see the predictions in our press releases online might vary from the actual numbers that are there afterwards, and that's because we do follow up to see that people actually travel. And most often they actually do, and in fact a few more than we actually calculated travel for the various holidays.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when is the best time to leave to avoid the big traffic disaster that especially happens here in New York City?
Well, we tell people Thanksgiving Day itself. If your destination is 100, 150 miles away, that if you get up very early in the morning, 5 or 6 a.m., leave then, you're going to see basically empty roads. The trip might take 2 or 3 hours, so that means by 9 or 10 a.m. you can be there. Plenty of time for eggnog and turkey at Grandma's. A lot of folks leave after work on Wednesday, hit the roads. You're going to see a lot of people on the roads. Remember the traffic jam we had last Thursday with all that snow and congestion? It might not be that bad, but it's going to be pretty bad. Yeah.
So how's our local picture looking? You know, we have dozens of highways, parkways, expressways leading into and out of the city. What do we have to watch out for here?
They're going to be very busy. If we fan out from our current location, if you go to the Belt Parkway, west
Always
and
the
eastbound,
worst.
very, very bad. Average speeds of about 12 miles per hour. You go to the 495 viaduct from the Lincoln Tunnel into westbound, into the southbound New Jersey Turnpike, also known as the Eastern Spur. That's going to be hammered. That is probably the second worst traffic hotspot in the entire nation, with average speeds of 2 miles per hour. The Garden State Parkway.
2 miles an hour.
2 miles an hour. The Garden State Parkway is also going to be very bad, and the Hutchinson River Parkway, which is what it's called in the Bronx. When it gets into Connecticut, it's called the Merritt Parkway. That's going to be bad as well. Probably speeds around 16, 17 miles per hour from 3 to 6 p.m. So if you can travel before then, great. After then, it might be, you have to wait very late
You
to
should
hit the
leave
road.
on Thanksgiving Day then.
Thanksgiving Day would be the best day to
At
leave.
5:15 in the morning, you
Well,
said?
yes, very early in the morning. Returning though Sunday is going to be bad from 6 p.m. to midnight. So leave early in the day, maybe around noon.
Gotta get to work on Monday.
Got to, yeah.
Tell me, gas prices, they contribute to the volume on the road, right?
Well, gasoline prices really don't play. We're seeing gasoline prices about 19 cents per gallon higher than we were this time last year, but they're about that much lower than where we were a month ago. So prices are actually lower. But even in the worst of times, the gasoline only makes up about 10 to 15% of the travel budget. So no matter how high it goes, if there's a strong economy, people have lots of money in their pocket, lots of disposable income, higher household net worth like we have now, they're going to hit the road and they don't care what gasoline
And
prices
people
are.
naturally just want to see their families.
Yes.
Last question for you. You got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Tell me the biggest safety tip you have for drivers.
Probably putting enough air in your tires. We're going to get 360,000 calls over the holiday travel period, and top items are flat tires and dead batteries and lockout. So make sure tires are properly inflated before you hit the road. Have a load test done in your battery. If it's 3 to 5 years old, that's how long they last. Make sure the battery will hold the charge and your electrical system is putting out enough power. Being broken down by the side of the road is more than just an inconvenience. It can be very, very dangerous indeed.
And are you going anywhere, Robert?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying close to home. Yes, indeed.
Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Finally tonight, Pope Francis is sending out a special message, not for the holidays, but for the young pilgrims he will see at World Youth Day in Panama.
Que la Virgen María los acompañe, que ella esté cerca de ustedes en este peregrinaje y que su ejemplo los anime a ser valientes y generosos en su respuesta. Buen camino hacia Panamá y por favor no se olviden de rezar por mí. Hasta pronto.
The Panama pilgrimage will be taking place in January of 2019. Kurtz News will be providing special live coverage of the World Youth Day beginning when the Pope arrives in Panama City. That is Currents News. I'm Michelle Powers. Just a reminder that Currents News is moving to a new time slot. Starting Monday, December 3rd, the news will air at 7 p.m. And as always, thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. For the next 2 days, Net TV will televise special Thanksgiving programming. Hope to see you again next time and have a very happy Thanksgiving.